Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're stepping into an absolutely wondrous, totally mythic scale of cosmic history. We're looking at the vast, intricate architecture of the myriad realms, but more specifically, we're uncovering the forgotten, ancient hierarchy sitting right at its very foundation. If you think you know who pulls the strings in the cosmos, well, you might want to reconsider, because today, we're revealing the truth behind the original architects of reality itself.
Okay, let's dive into this. When you look at the universe as it operates right now, it's pretty much dominated by ruthless factions and super cunning conquerors. But if we trace the cosmic timeline back to its absolute beginning, the source texts present a massive question. Who truly built the myriad realms? The modern rulers act like they own the place, right? But the bedrock of reality was actually laid down by a completely different class of entities, beings whose very nature is almost alien to the current inhabitants of the cosmos.
These entities are known as the primordial beings. They were literally the first sparks of life, born directly from raw primordial energy. Now, what makes them so fascinating is their psychology. The source texts describe them as simple-minded, but actually, scratch that, they definitely aren't stupid. They're just emotionally honest and entirely fearless. They completely ignore politics, strategy, and social norms unless those things directly clash with their values. In our modern cosmos, which is just filled with deception, their razor-sharp, unfiltered instincts make them these profound anomalies. So to truly grasp their power, we have to go back to the very dawn of creation.
Section 1. Dawn of the Primordials, the roots of the cosmic tree.
The Lord describes something called the origin tree. Just picture this in your head. A truly colossal, cosmic tree that draws energy directly from the rule source. The myriad realms, all the different worlds and dimensions, are held together by this tree, kind of like leaves hanging on branches. And the primordial beings, well, they essentially act as the roots. They're the foundational entities drawing raw power from the origin source just to keep the whole structure alive and thriving.
Let's move to and see how this builds in a physical sense. First, raw primordial energy forms the origin source. And from this energy, the very first primordial beings are born, specifically the primordial pixies. And hey, these aren't just your standard mythical fairies. They are the original architects of everything. Step 3 is just incredible. They literally flew across the boundless void, and as they flapped their wings, they spread primordial energy, effectively growing and forging the myriad realms we know today.
But don't mistake their foundational role for gentle benevolence. Listen to this quote from the source material. When a tiger is hungry, it kills a deer. This act of the tiger is innocent, but there is no virtue in it. That perfectly encapsulates the primordial beings. They're emotionally honest and innocent in their nature, for sure, but that does not mean they're virtuous. They were, and still are, the fierce apex predators of the cosmos. Their power is just totally raw and untamed.
Section 2. The fall from grace. Creators driven into hiding.
However, this age of pure, instinctual creation didn't last forever. The timeline here reveals a deeply tragic history. It all started at the dawn of time with the pixies creating the realms. But then, during the ancient era, the Celestials, beings who actually benefited from this creation, began to abuse the pixies' generosity and trust. This massive betrayal ushered in a dark age, pushing the honest, straightforward primordial beings to the absolute brink of extinction, or forcing them into deep hiding. By the time we hit the modern era, that vacuum of power had been entirely usurped by aggressive, chaotic races.
Section 3. Rulers of the modern realms. The era of conquerors.
So, with the pure-hearted creators gone, the cosmos basically became an arena for the most brutal and cunning factions to fight for dominance. Chief among these usurpers are the dark races. Having adapted to the hellish environment of the dark realm, they evolved incredibly fast. They're so advanced they even created dark will, this conscious living spell designed entirely to bypass the limits of inner realm travel. To them, destroying an entire realm isn't some cosmic tragedy, it's literally just regular work. They're driven by a deeply twisted obsession with reputation, and they operate under this blatant assumption that the entire myriad realms rightfully belongs to them.
Now, what's really interesting about this group is the sheer variety of these modern dominating forces. We've got the Chaos Dwarfs, erratic but highly respected engineers who build the absolute ultimate weapons of destruction. Then you have the Red-Clad Dwarfs, where individuals start acting as inter-realm merchants at incredibly young ages, like 10 or 12 years old. And on the completely brutal end of the spectrum, you've got the abominable Snow Demons. These are ruthless colonizers who literally destroyed the realm of the Frozling race just to enslave them. It is a harsh, unforgiving ecosystem out there.
Another terrifying faction in this modern era are the Voltronians.
They possess these nearly indestructible bodies and monster cores. And their philosophy? They conquer worlds to, quote-unquote, end the suffering of the weak. Yeah. They transformed from a race that just slaughtered each other internally into a unified, expansionist nightmare that's bound by absolutely nothing but sheer power. Yet, their tragic flaw is their hyper-aggression. Most of them die prematurely simply because they can't stop picking fights with each other.
Section 4. The extinction of innocence. Creators versus conquerors. When we look at this lore, there's a very explicit philosophical line drawn right in the sand. On one side, we have the primordial beings, emotionally honest, driven by pure instinct, utterly ignoring the exhausting games of politics and social norms. On the other side, the modern dominant races, cunning, aggressively expansionist, highly manipulative, and absolutely obsessed with strategy and reputation. The modern era is essentially defined by the complete loss of that primordial honesty, which has been replaced entirely by calculated malice.
Because of this massive shift, true primordial beings are incredibly, exceptionally rare today. The texts note that only a handful of anomalies even survive. For example, there's Little Biam, this astonishingly fast and fierce white primordial snake. And, of course, the elusive world calamity trees. Finding a primordial in the modern myriad realms is honestly like finding a living dinosaur walking down the street. They are remnants of a lost, far more powerful age.
Section 5. A Primordial Awakening. Bridging the Ancient and the Modern.
But what happens when that lost age bleeds into the present? Enter our protagonist, Wyatt. Wyatt is a walking, breathing anomaly because he possesses primordial souls, specifically referred to as myriad primordial spirits, and this is supposed to be completely impossible. He's a modern mortal, yet he's forged a direct, undeniable link to the ancient origin source. He is quite literally reviving the lost foundational secrets of the universe from within his own body.
So the crucial point is how these ancient powers equip him to survive a cosmos ruled by monsters. Wyatt's spirits can access raw primordial energy. He developed primordial soul pupils, which literally let him see the hidden secrets of any being with just a single glance. And because his connection goes straight to the absolute origin source, he's totally immune to the rule contamination that limits everyone else. He even uses these primordial traits to morph his spiritual body, taking on forms like the Chaos Dwarfs to infiltrate the dark races. Basically, he's using the Creator's toolkit to fight the conquerors.
It completely reframes the entire cosmic power struggle. The modern races think they've won the game, but they're really just playing in a sandbox built by beings they chased away. Which leaves us with this final thought. Wyatt is bringing the raw, unfiltered power of the origin tree back to its branches. So, when the lost ancient powers finally wake up and reclaim the myriad realms, where exactly will the modern conquerors hide? Thanks for exploring this with us, and keep questioning the lore.